hard to follow John Hinckley Jr. So when Stephen asked me to do this letter writing thing, I said yes, but I didn't know what I was saying yes to. I don't really write letters. I'm a poet. Prose is not my language. But I thought, well, maybe I'll make a few attempts. So I've spared you the first two. I just threw those away. And this is one of the things that I felt was important was to keep it sort of drafty. So this is a very drafty letter to you. Dear reader, my life is boring much of the time. That's practically my job. Sitting and trying to jumpstart the jalopy. Because I know I've got places I can get to if I can just get that motor running. And it ain't like I just going up the road to Jackson. It's fruitful, this journey. Some of the day I'm working en plein air, a spray of asters under a coast live oak, stingy with the shade, on the slope of a hill, looking down at a church. It's happening here for a while, the writing. As long as folks both leave me alone and are interesting. Keep the hound far from the bone. Later, after the aggressive songs of blue jays, and the dog owners dragging their leashes, and Mr. Crazy Pants, who thinks he's Giorgio Moroder, and tortures the afternoon with his craft work, meets Jerry Rafferty, drives me home. Hunger, too, drives me, which is why it's good to get out. And I have done something about supper, which is what I do. I do something. Then I sit down and try again to make the sparrows unafraid. Sparrow don't know what a hawk is until he is taken. A lot of time I'm tweeting, and then it's bedtime. Dude just tried to sell me a camera. $6 is what he wanted, and he didn't look like he was always selling cameras. But if I wanted to buy a camera, I would have already done so. So no, I said, I have no use for cameras. Which is true. I don't snap a whole lot of photos. That's what the writing's for. I suppose I lose the record of so many important things that way. So it turns out they weren't what was really important. What it turns out is important is that time you and your fruit fly friend, let's call her Dead Dora, got locked out of the apartment of a guy it turned out neither of you knew all that well, but he seemed Osmond Wholesome, or maybe he was a hemophiliac. And you liked him because who doesn't like a hemophiliac? That would be mean. Besides, he's hot, which you weren't, but you weren't locked out. It was just the wrong floor, and the nice, wholesome boy, who might have been bleeding to death right at that moment, who knows, was waiting for you all the time in his pajamas. Or a DJ plays Time Kills, whatever the hell that is. Maybe it was his own composition. Whatever it is, it sticks, pops up years later like that Opryland cookbook from your aunt. Is there still Opryland? Maybe it was the hotel that folded. Why should I know such things? Every human body has its scripture. I write a lot in the movies. I can't help it. Poetry and the movies have so much in common. One of them borrows freely from the other, like sisters who share the same size, but not necessarily the same friends. The three-shot sequence that permeates Potemkin is haiku. If we can say of cinema that it is poetic, it's because its symmetries are bound by the convention of protagonist, antagonist, and chorus, which is itself an expression of what we see as three-dimensionality. The fourth dimension, Time is the way order is made from sequencing, a way to keep experience present in the body of the writing. A poem echoes. It harmonizes a set of gestures into a unit of meaning. Pick a thing that happened, not necessarily to you, but to language, and find another thing that seems in some way to respond to it. Now one that does something different. Some may say, I never get that right. Well, who would want to? A perfect thing knows nothing. We can't have that. Listen, sweetie, reader, I don't know who you are, nor why you should care. I've spent the whole afternoon with you, though you were unaware. It's a lot of time to produce so little. With poetry, for me, it's even less than this. But I work a lot, like those gold mine dredgers, and eventually I eke out something. I'm someone who's got to keep moving. You should too. Lounge on the hill while you can. Something happens to you there. If you are reading this, it means the world to me. I have spent my afternoon wanting to meet you, but I had to write this instead. I love you. Done.